Well, hello, everyone. Cynthia Tomaine here with Interactive Brokers, and thank you for joining me as we take a look at the Market Scanner feature that's available in your version of Trader Workstation. Now, our focus today is going to be on the advanced market scanners. We do a separate webinar on the market scanners available within the Mosaic interface. So if you are a Mosaic user, you may want to check out that previous recording as well. So with that, let's move right over into the desktop share portion of our event, and we'll start taking a look at creating and utilizing the market scanners in the classic version of TWS. Now, market scanners will allow you to quickly and easily scan global markets for the top performing contracts, whether it's in America, Europe, or Asia. Now, you can search or scan for stocks, options, futures, corporate bonds, indices, and so much more. The available scanners that you can access will be determined by the instrument selection and your global region. Plus, you have the ability to customize those market scanners with any combination of search criteria, such as instrument type, market center, price and volume constraints, sector, industry, and so much more. You can even create templates to run your favorite scans on demand. Now, scanners are available and can be accessed in each of IB's trading platforms. We're going to be taking a look at the Trader Workstation here today, and by the way, scans can also be accessed in the Mosaic interface, although our focus this morning will be on the classic version of TWS. Scanners are also available in our WebTrader, a simplified, scaled-down version of our trading platform that's available for those of you who may trade basic order types or a single instrument. By the way, the WebTrader is also available behind a firewall where access to Trader Workstation may not be possible. But scanners are also included on our mobile devices for smartphones and tablets, and you can even access the data through our API features. Plus, you'll find, and we'll take a look later on, how you can run scanners through company fundamentals for related products or similar products that are located in the same industry or sector. So we've got a lot to cover here today. Let's get moving. Now, notice that when we do go into Trader Workstation, you'll find underneath Analytical Tools, notice there is an Advanced Market Scanner feature that's available. Also, do want to point out the plus icon. Now, you'll have in Classic TWS, and I just used a left click here, what I'm going to do is right-click on the plus tab that's included over to the right-hand side. And notice here you can view the Advanced Market Scanners as well. Now, if you open it up through our Plus tab, it will add the scanner as a separate tab within your quote monitor screen of the classic version of Trader Workstation. But I also do want to point out, notice here, when we go through the Analytical Tools menu, you'll find that we do have access to the Mosaic Market Scanner, which actually opens up in a separate window. Notice here this window with access to our scanner library. Well, I do have a bit of latency that we're going to try and get beyond here today. So I'm going to close out the Mosaic Market Scanners, and because our focus today is going to be on Classic TWS. Now notice from this drop-down menu under Analytical Tools, as you hover over the Advanced Market Scanner, you'll see several icons are included here. Now, these icons are letting you know you can open up the scanner as a separate window or as a new tab within your quote monitor list. Now, what is that distinction? Well, first of all, I want you to be aware that there is a limit throughout TWS to 100 active ticker symbols that will display real-time quotes at any one time on the platform. This is available by default, and if you do find you need more than 100 active ticker symbols, you can always subscribe to quote booster packs available in account management. They are available at an additional charge, so if you don't want to pay those excess fees, or simply utilize or make sure that you're not opening up more than 100 active ticker symbols at any one time on the platform. And to do that, or just keep in mind, if you open it up as a separate window, any ticker symbols or anything that is returned in the scanners will count against those 100 tickers. So my suggestion when working with a classic TWS is to open these as a new tab. Notice here you'll see I'm going to click out of that menu. I've got several scanners already there and available. This allows me to save those scanners and simply access any of them individually so that I don't exceed that 100 ticker limit. Now, by adding these as separate tabs in your classic TWS quote monitor screen, you can actually create a template or create a scan and use it as a template and access any of these scanners at any time to pull back that same information or refresh it to view information as of the current trading day. Now, while there is a limitation of 100 ticker symbols, I do want you to be aware there is no limitation to the number of scanners that you can open and have available for you. We'll also be taking a look at how you can create and save those scanners as a template to pull back and run those scans at any time that you do want access to the information so that it doesn't clutter your tab set here as well. By the way, I also want you to know you do have the ability to transmit orders directly from a scanner as well as save those scans as templates for later use. Okay, so how would you create a scanner? Well, let's start at the beginning and go into those analytical tools. And this time I am going to choose the advanced market scanner and open as a new tab. Now you'll see the scanner window opens with the criteria up at the top of the screen. And something to keep in mind here is whenever you get to these setup screens, always work from top to bottom and then from left to right, because the choices you make both to the left and above will drive what remaining selections are available. So notice, for example, here, when I select U.S. stocks, I'm seeing those locations. I'm also seeing the scanner parameters that are available for equity instruments here. But if I do go into future scanners, notice now I get a list of fewer locations and different scanner criteria that's available. So do keep that in mind. Notice if I go down to corporate bonds, you'll see a much different layout. So just remember, the first thing to start off with is the instrument selection. And I'm going to go back to U.S. equities. Now, notice over to the right-hand, or as we move across this page, the various locations that you do have available for you for these scans. Now, for example, here are all of the U.S. exchanges where equities will trade. But notice here, there's also pink sheet and bulletin board stocks. Now, if you do not want to be bothered with those low-priced equities, notice that you can actually remove them by simply deselecting the check mark that appears in front of those choices. Now, also notice over to the right-hand side, there are different filtering criteria. For example, we could take a look at price. Now notice the drop-down arrows that are available. You can choose a price greater than a particular amount. For example, you might want to put this above $5. You could do it less than a particular amount and specify that amount as well, or even do a range. Now what I'm going to do here is put a range, a price range for those equities that I do want it to scan. I may go between $20 and notice here I'll simply add that, and by choosing a range you'll see there's a from and to. So we'll actually limit this to $20 to $50. Well, notice that I did just fat finger, and instead of choosing a 0, I hit my dash. And notice what happens here. The background changes to blue to alert you that you're blue. I must be colorblind. Actually changes to pink. And notice that when you do put the correct format in, that background shading is removed. So if you do happen to see a pink background, go back and double check the information that you've added. Now also notice there's additional items that are available underneath the filtering criteria. For example, you could edit your scan by sector, industry, or category. And if I do make that choice, simply clicking the arrowhead, notice here I've got some input fields that will allow me to choose the sector. I may want to go into communications, for example, and then go into the industry. We could choose telecommunications, and then notice you could further filter. But do keep in mind that as you continue to filter, the more filtering criteria that you do have, the fewer selections that will result when you do press those scans. So what I'm going to do is go back here and we'll simply choose select an industry and keep it with the communication sector. Now, by the way, you can also choose volume greater than a certain amount, so you can add that. If you want to see current day volume above a million shares, simply put that into the input field. But then notice there's also additional filters that are available. And these filters are specific to the instrument that you've selected. So notice there's a certain auction, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and collapse all of these, and you'll see that it opens up to show you categories of information. So we did have the at auction, but also notice that I could expand to view fundamental data that's available. For example, we may want to see market capitalization. Simply put your check mark in front of that box. You could also add price to earnings ratio, analyst price targets, and so much more by simply putting a check in that box. Now also notice here the information panel. If you are looking for how these fundamentals have been calculated, simply hover over that information icon, not a panel, but an icon, and you'll see a tooltip that will pop up and show you how that is calculated, as well as whether it's the most recent quarter, most recent year, or trailing 12 months. So you can find out what each of these values are, for example, by simply hovering over them. Now, additional items can be added, such as high, low, and volume. Your general information also now includes certain technical scanners that have recently been added to the Trader Workstation. Also, I do want you to see that option information is also available. So when you do make these selections, just keep in mind they will be added to the results once you do click to access the scan. Now, something else that I want to point out is Recognia. Now, Recognia is a recent addition to our scanner criteria. Now, Recognia actually includes research using technical indicators. Now, if you do go into the Recognia, notice what I'm going to do here is come down by expanding this item here. There are intermediate and long-term, short-term, long-term, and intermediate technical indicators that are provided by Recognia. Now, do want to mention this does require an additional subscription to our fundamental bundled package that includes 7 of the most popular criteria that's available. So you will need to subscribe to that through your version of account management in the research criteria. But once you do have have that access, notice here you can add, and I'm going to put in a, let's go in and we'll choose a long-term class as well as technical event and simply choose OK. Once I've made that selection, notice here, everything that you've used on that for that scanner will appear down below. So notice here, it is showing you those Recognia criteria as well. Okay, once you have set that criteria, and by the way, you can always come back and edit this information. Oh, didn't mean to do that. My apologies. What I'm going to do is move over to the right-hand side. Now, as we're creating all of this different criteria here, notice that these are just the filters and the locations. But what we will do is move over to the parameters side, and you'll find all of the different scans that are available will be listed here, such as the top percent gainers or losers, those that are most active in the markets today. Um, any that may have had trading halted, you can actually locate those. And notice as I scroll through here, I'm going to move down because what we are seeing are some additional scanners based on underlying equities that relate to options criteria. So notice there is option implied implied volatility, or the highest option implied volatility and the lowest, and I'm going to try and keep my cursor down so that it doesn't, those tooltips don't keep popping up. You can also find those that are most active by option volume, and even take a look at the put-call ratio as well. Each of these scanners, by the way, when you do choose one of the scanners, and let's go with the highest option, implied volatility over historical. Now, once I made that selection, notice that at the very bottom of this screen, the parameter screen, you'll now see that when you do select one of those volatility scanners, that you have your choice between so sorry about that. You have your choice between an annual or a daily volatility representation. If you happen to be looking for some of those weekly option contracts, you may want to switch here to that daily volatility. But for now, I'll go ahead and leave that with annual volatility representation. Now, once I make that selection, notice here at the top of this window, you'll find all of the criteria that you've used. We started off with U.S. equities. There are two conditions, and this is the parameters that I've set. Now, notice over to the right-hand side, there is a search button. Clicking that search button will then pull in all of that information into the scanner criteria. Now, notice here, and by the way, I haven't spent some time in organizing this, just did it on the fly, but notice what you do have access to are each of those different features that I've added here. Now, by the way, if you do want to, well, first of all, let me pull up that short-term event class. This is one of those Recognia indicators here that is going to show you some short-term patterns. Notice any of these other items that are included. By the way, you can choose to access or also involved with the Recognia indicators will be items such as head and shoulders, breakouts, shooting stars, hammers, gravestones, triangles, and flags. So if you're looking for some of those short-term, intermediate, or long-term indicators, it's that subscription to Recognia that's necessary for those. Now, also notice that based on the criteria I just specified, you can see sector, industry, as well as category, and we've also included the bid and ask prices here. Now, any of these columns, by the way, notice a right-click on the column header. If you don't want to add that, what I am going to do is simply come in and choose to delete that column. And oh, by the way, the short-term indicator, the date that it hit that as well is going to be listed here. But since I may not want them in this scan, I'm going to go ahead and remove them from the scanner. Now you'll see the price to earnings ratio, different market capitalization, as well as the number of targets for the stock price. And these are just included in any of those definitions that I was showing you previously. So here we do have, as well as your implied volatility, historical implied over historical volatility as a certain representation. Now, when we're talking about option scanners, I do want you to be aware that some of the criteria available for each of the option scanners is also included in the option trader. The option trader is one of our full or our optimized trading tools that while we do collect certain volatility based options information in the scanners, it isn't available on an individual ticker symbol. Well, while it is listed here on an individual ticker, you're not able to focus in on a specific ticker symbol. So what I will do is go in and let me simply choose one of these tickers that are here, and I'm going to open up the option trader. You'll see when the option trader opens up, notice here that ticker symbol is in focus. And what you also have access to is a statistics panel that, and notice if you're not seeing the statistics panel, there's a S icon included in the right-hand corner. Now here is where you can view all of those parameters that we saw available for underlying equities. Here are the different statistics. So while the scanners will show you ones individually by ticker symbol, you cannot filter the scans down to a particular instrument. But I did want you to be aware that they are available within the option trader window. And by the way, notice there's a configuration wrench here. Opening that configuration wrench will show you, and notice I'm going to use the radial sort button. These are all of the columns that are available. Those that aren't visible, I could add, say, for example, the implied versus historical volatility. Simply choose Add from here, click Apply, and then OK. And that now will be included. And notice here, well, let me see, I think this is our, let me see, our implied over historical volatility. So you can add any of these fields into your option trader window for evaluating any of the underlying ticker symbols. I'm simply going to close the option trader out right now, and let's go back into the scanners. Okay, now so here we have certain criteria that we've already added. I also do want to point out auto refresh. Notice that each time you move onto this page, it will automatically refresh or update. Now, that refresh happens every 60 seconds throughout the trading day. And notice here where you do see time and scan displayed, it will also update for the criteria that you do have included here. Now, as I move back up to the top of the scanner, notice this scanner's been open for 5 minutes, so these still remain at the top. But you'll see at the bottom of the scan, as you begin to, or as new contracts fit the criteria you've just selected, notice how they will be added at the bottom of the screen. So you can view that information as well from directly within the scanner. Now, if you do want to go back at any time, make adjustments, you can always go back or click that edit button. That takes you back to the scanner screen where you can add additional criteria or remove any items that you may have already added. Notice here as I go into the filter section, the red X will allow me to remove any of those items. Okay, now also, once you have hit the edit button, notice here how it automatically opens up that scanner criteria. And instead of edit, a reset button does appear. But I'm not going to reset this right now. What I will do is just go back in and search, and notice now how that criteria has now, or the time and scan has now reverted back to the initial, but as every 60 seconds pass, you'll see any new additions will be added to this screen. Now also, you can configure this window for the maximum number of results. Most of our scanners will allow you to pull back the 50 contracts that meet the information that you have created here or scanned for. But you can also choose to limit the number of contracts that are returned. So notice if I do choose 20 results and then simply search again, you'll see I've now limited the results to the top performing contracts that met the criteria that I set up on this screen. Now also notice here there is a save icon. Now this icon is an elusive icon. Sometimes it will appear here and sometimes you may not see it. But do keep in mind that simply hovering your cursor in this area of the window, that save disk will actually appear. And notice you can save your template and pull it back anytime that you want to refresh or renew the information that's appearing within that scanner. Once you go to save the scanner, first of all, notice this is going to go to your JTS folder, which is located directly on the root of C. This is where all of your settings will be stored. And in what I call a D folder. This D folder is unique to your user ID and password. It's where all of your settings for whether it's your live account or your paper account will be stored. Now notice when I do go into this screen, you'll see STP is scanner templates. So if you do choose to save that template, give it a name, and you can always come back and load the template whenever you want to run that scanner once again. So I'm simply going to, well here, I'll just call this a test, and notice once I save that the next time if I do want to come back and run that test, notice if I go to load that template, test is included. Making that selection and open will then reopen the template based on the criteria that I had already created. No sense opening it up again, but I did want you to see that after you do specify that criteria, if it's a scanner you're going to run on a regular basis, then make sure you do save it as a template so you can go back and run it. Even modify the criteria. Once you have made those changes, remember you can always hit the edit button, go back and modify the criteria that you have created. Okay, now let's go back, and what I'm going to do at this point is let's start once again going into our scanners, and this time I'm going to choose a blank page. Now I did want to point out, let's go in, for example, into U.S. futures. Now, U.S. futures, you'll see the various locations are indicated, but also notice here, I don't subscribe to all future exchanges. So you'll see that icon is actually letting you know that these various venues are not included in real-time data. If you do want to include any of this information in your scan results, you will need to log in and subscribe to these markets through account management. So I did want to point that out. If you happen to include these, notice here you'll get a message that says it's non-subscribed, and this will allow you, if you hit the continue button, it will take you right into account management where you can subscribe to those markets. But in this case here, I'm simply going to close that out. Now, also do want you to see that different filters are available for different instruments. Here we have the price and the volume constraints, but notice when I go to add a filter, instead of all of the criteria available for underlying equities, notice it is just these items that are accessible. And here you can see, for example, you may only want to view the lead month contract only. Other items that are listed here, you'll find definitions for as well in our user guide. For example, you may want to see a gap. If there were any gaps that occurred, I'll simply go ahead and add that. We'll click Apply and OK, and then run the scans. Now notice over to the right-hand side, the parameters differ as well. You'll see those available scans, and notice here, the icon that's included identifies that to obtain your exact results. Notice here that now, because I did include the ECBOT, my results will not be exact. So what I'm going to do is simply deselect that, and notice now you also have just a list of those available parameters. So keep in mind, we do try and give you information, and if you're unsure what those icons or different items are, simply hover your cursor over it, see what that message is that's available, and you can correct that by simply deselecting any of these non-subscribed exchanges. So here we are back to the various parameters that are available. Now, I do have U.S. futures, but notice I could also scan for uh, futures located outside in the Americas, but outside the U.S. Also, futures, Euro futures, as well as Asia futures are available. But if I scroll all the way down, I could also take a look at global future contracts. Now notice once again, additional exchanges will have been added here, and you can make your selection for those markets that you do subscribe to. I'm going to go ahead and add Singapore, for example, because I do subscribe to that market, and let's add South Korea. Just so that I can show you what will happen. Now notice that one of those filters I set before was the lead month filter only, but you can also simply X out of this and notice that that removes the filter so it's no longer available. You can always add it back by clicking the button, and notice here we could add back that lead month contract only, or those that I may want to see, and I want to put a check mark, those with the greatest change since the open. And notice here, it's going to show you that by percentage. Once I click OK, notice now that criteria and additional criteria that I want through the filtering will be added. I haven't clicked the search feature yet, but one of those items that I did want to point out is notice that when you are trading looking for criteria that crosses multiple different global regions and exchanges, you'll find that if you choose most active, this will show you those that are most active based on the exchanges that you do subscribe to. But also notice here, most active with a dollar sign. Now, that dollar sign means that TWS will convert the results based on U.S. dollars for comparison. So when you are looking at non-U.S. dollar products, the price will be converted to USD, so it will rank them within the results that do appear. So even any of these, and I believe there's some additional scans that also do have that dollar sign, so just do keep that in mind. Now, once I've set these parameters, notice I may choose that most active by US dollar, and I could search. Keeping that button selected, auto refresh means that every 60 seconds this will refresh with any newer criteria. You'll see here I've now just pulled back all of those, the various items based on the criteria that I just created. Now notice here, when you are looking at global products, what I am going to do, you'll see here as I scroll down, and I do have going down to the SPX, notice here how that is grayed out. That means it's not currently trading. So while it is available at for this scan, you'll see that markets are closed for the SPX. And it is shown to you with grayed out information here. So just wanted to for you to keep that in mind. Okay. Now, also, if you have created other scanners, notice how they all appear. I do have another scan on that close to open and the percent gainers. So here we'll be able to see those scans. By the way, notice that you're also seeing the bid and the offer, as well as if there was a gap. Now, this is one that I created previously, and notice that gap percentage is the difference between the open price and the closing price previous business day. Uh, Now, notice here, this tooltip is also showing you that right-clicking the column header will allow you to display that gap as an absolute value or a percentage. So once I right-click, notice here, if I do want to toggle between configure the gap column, let me see here. We could go in and toggle the display. This is what I did want to show you. Notice that we went between the gap as a percentage, or right-clicking, I can go in and toggle it to, rather than the absolute value, back to that percentage. So certain columns also have some additional information. And if there is one tip I can give you about working in our platform, if there's something you're unsure of, simply right-click for an intuitive selection on where you can navigate next. Okay, so here we have, and you'll see I've got the futures. Now notice I'm going to go back, and whether I open up a brand new tab or go over to the tab set, I'm going to simply right click here and choose Advanced Market Scanners. A right click on that tab will do the same thing as accessing from our Analytical Tools menu. Now, I do want to mention we have recently added equity ETFs as well. Or, I'm sorry, not equity, ETF scanner criteria has recently been added by with our Alta Vista research partner. Now, when we do go into the new scans, want to point out that remember, once again, the criteria is available based on the instrument that you selected. Here you'll see those that are listed, and notice our locations will be listed, and you can add or remove any of these. I'll leave them all added here. But when I do go over to the Add filter, notice that Alta Vista criteria has been included now within the Market Scanner feature. These will be showing you different ETF values in the scanner, which allow you to filter and scan for approximately 1,400 U.S. equity and fixed income ETFs. Notice there's different scanners for each of these. Now, when you do go in, notice here, and I'm going to collapse all of these sections. Let's see, you'll see each of the different categories. The recognitive is also available for those technical indicators. But if you're looking for equity ETFs, for example, over 30 additional data points are available, such as book value per share. You can read through here with all of the different criteria that can be added. Return on equity, price and growth ratio, and notice here, all of those, well, I'm not seeing the definition, but that definition is included in our user guide. So any of these can be added to your scanner criteria, but not only your scanner criteria, it could also be added to any of your quote monitors or watch lists, all of the various data points. Now, by the way, also want you to see that where it's relevant, depending on the instrument, you can find data points that support data for the previous, current, and next fiscal year. So here we have current, next, and I should have started, by the way, these are all alphabetically created in here. So whether you use this criteria in any of your scanners or as By the way, these can also be added on any of your quote monitor lists. So do take a look at the Alta Vista powered ETF scanners and the columns that are available throughout TWS. Okay, fixed income scanners, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. And notice fixed income scanners will also have that criteria, and you'll also see the parameters. Notice here, and I think someone was just asking in my questions panel for some additional information year over year. Notice here you may want to take a look at some of the criteria that's available. Okay, now let me also take a look at corporate bonds. For example, I'm going to open up corporate bonds and you'll see additional features or additional criteria has now been added. You can work with the market data, choose bid or ask, the quantities that are available, and by the way, when you do select it as K, it's showing you in thousands, and also remember the icons that we include, simply hover over those icons for additional information or that tooltip. Now, corporate bonds, you can also choose by individual equity ticker symbol. So I'm going to put in Duke Energy, for example, and we'll use that as some of the criteria. By the way, there's also various issuers for debt issuers for corporations, so you could also even search by debt issuers. Now, notice that the filtering criteria is very different. You'll see payment frequency for any of the coupons, the maturity date. By the way, notice here, I'm going to open this up and show you the format for your dates, whether you use a 2-digit month and 4-digit year, or 4-digit year, 2-digit month, and 2-digit day for any of the maturities that you're looking for. So notice I'm going to put in 01-2020. And you'll see how the background changes to pink if you haven't completely utilized the correct format. And I'm also going to put this 01/2025, so you can filter by maturity date. Also notice that not only U.S. corporate bonds are, but bonds in all of these countries are also available. Now, something to keep in mind, if you are going to be trading any of these additional bonds, you may need to go back in and update your trading permissions in account management. It's under the Manage Account tab and trade configuration where you'll find trading permissions. So if you are looking at trading bonds in any of these countries, make sure you update that section where you can also digitally sign any disclosures that you're required that we're required to present to you. That actually allows you to digitally sign that information and activate those additional trading permissions. Okay, ratings. We also do have by subscription. Moody's, S&P, and Fitch ratings are also available. So notice here you can make those selections, and it's showing you minimum ratings to maximum ratings. So here it's going to prompt you to choose a range for those ratings. You can also, by the way, notice here there's quite a few additional selections that are available, and if you're looking, notice here our equity cap is in millions, and you can simply use any of these items here that will indicate where that data comes from. Okay, now also included are bond attributes, whether it's defaulted, callable, FDIC insured, or not. You can choose to include those or exclude those attributes from the scanner results. And then too, the same with the different industries. Notice you may want to take a look at technology, for example, and we'll simply put that or isolate that and then click search. Now notice when I do go into no items were found, so I'm going to go back into edit and we'll eliminate this. Um, Let me see. I'm going to come back here and we'll go with that maturity date. And before I do click search, also want to point out, notice here, there's different for the bond scanners. You can also choose some additional uh, uh, selections here on how you want them organized. Maturity near to far or far to near. The different spreads, the bid yield or the ask yield, each of these can be selected on how to sort your scanners. So I'm going to put this in, let's put far to near, for example, and then click search. Oh, and I didn't unselect, so I'll go back in here. We'll edit. I'm going to deselect the technology, and that's because, by the way, if you do make a selection, notice that if it returns no information, I'm going to go back and edit. Well, it's because Duke is not a technology company. So keep in mind that each time you make certain criteria, that's why you always work from left to right and from top to bottom. Because if I did remove this, I could return all technology bonds. So I did want to point that out. Just because the bonds aren't returned, it may be because of prior selections that you have made. Okay, so here we do have corporate bonds, but notice we also have just recently added U.S. CDs, agency bonds, as well as U.S. municipal bonds. If you're interested in any of these instruments, take a few minutes and pull up the scanners. You can add and edit and even remove the scanner if you're not going to use it again. Now, I did want to point out that U.S. municipal bonds have similar information to what we saw for those corporate bonds, but then notice also there are certain U.S. states. Notice I happen to be located in Connecticut, so I'm going to pull up Connecticut here and then simply click the search field. Here you'll be able to see all of the various muni bonds that I do have access to. And remember, I can always go back and add some additional columns or criteria. Why would you want to add certain additional columns? Well, once you're in the Market Scanner feature, notice here that each of these columns is sortable. So you can sort in ascending or descending order by simply left-clicking the column header. Notice here it's going to resort that column, and it looks like this now is in descending value according to the ask price. Notice here I'm going to click again and it will resort it according to the or in ascending value. So ways that you can not only once you pull in the criteria that you're looking for, you can continue to search or organize according to each of the different market data fields. Okay, now there's also a separate scanner that I did use. Well, let's go back and what I'm looking for here. And is a high dividend yield. Now, I've already gone in and run this scanner because this is one of the largest scanners that we do have. Notice that when I do get into this scanner here, you'll see this window is letting me know that I've requested market data, and notice here there's many more contracts than will display active market quotes. Now, by keeping this page attached as a separate tab, it is not uh, suppressing active quotes throughout the rest of TWS. So an important reason why you may want to keep this one included as a separate tab instead of an independent window. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this selection here, and we'll simply not choose that again. And notice, oh, I must have activated my news panel, so I'm going to close out of that. Now you'll see that the maximum number of results that can be viewed is 750. But based on the criteria that I selected, over almost 3,300 equities are available on this screen. So if you're not seeing the information that you're looking for, remember you can use the arrowhead here to expand and begin to add certain criteria that will reduce the number of stocks that are displayed. Uh, by the way, with that dividend yield, notice here you can also go in and choose the maximum number of results. I may want to, instead of over 3,300, notice that once I do click maximum results and choose that search again, you'll see that it now reopens that search, and instead of 750, I'm now seeing just 75 equities. By the way, notice as I move down quickly here, that TWS is going to refresh and provide real-time quotes. It takes a moment once you do move on to this page, but just realize that if you're seeing blanks here, it's because the data is not available, blanks or question marks. So did want to point that out. Okay, let me see. Now, beyond these scanners here, oh, and by the way, if I mentioned that you do have the ability to trade from this window when trading in classic TWS, notice if I simply left-click on the ask price, I can create a buy order. That opens up, and you'll see a message here that says you have a new order. Would you like to expand? I'll go ahead and select yes. And it's actually this dotted line that's available up at the top of the screen, because once you have located a trading opportunity, notice that by simply left-clicking the bid or the ask price, creates a buy or a sell order with all of your order management criteria built into this window. I'm going to right-click right now and choose to discard, but I did want you to see that because of the way the market scanners, the advanced market scanners are created, that you can trade directly from this window as well. Let's go back in a few other items that I did want to show you with the scanners. And notice here, as I scroll down, I know I was focused on U.S. products, but you can do the same depending on your market data subscriptions. Notice if you want to view global stocks, I'll simply make that choice. And I now have global information. And notice when I do go and scroll down this window, there's still certain items that I don't subscribe to. So if I did want to include those, I would have to go out to my subscription page. But without those, I could actually go in and say, for example, add Toronto Stock Exchange. Now, in this case here, I may want to see those that are most active. And remember, there's some additional filters, whether it's fundamentals, there's also general information, fee rate and rebate rate, or if you are looking to short certain equities, notice you could pull up unshortable. Any of these items can be added as well. Notice here where we see that dollar icon, which is an indication, since I'm looking for products that are available in both the U.S. and Canada, by using average volume according to dollar amounts, that actually converts the underlying volumes according to dollars rather than to U.S. dollars rather than Canadian dollars. So it can accurately rate or view them within the market scanner feature. I'm going to simply cancel this because I know there's some latency now with some of these scanners coming back. But I also did want to point out an additional scanner type that's available, and it is market statistics. Now, market statistics will allow you to view, and we'll simply search for this right now. Notice how you can view these scanners that include advancing and declining issues for certain U.S. exchanges. Even tick and trend indicators are available here. So if you're looking for these, notice simply highlighting that line, you can view in colored text what those advancing and declining issues are. By the way, colored text in the scanner, where you see green, it means it's moving in a positive direction, but notice the orange, it's letting you see negative selections here. For example, notice these are down. The advancing issues have declined since the previous 60-second update. So you can view all of that within the market scanners. Now, I also did want to mention here, aftermarket scanners are available. You can still use most of the TWS market scanners even when all trading is stopped, including during extended hours. Now, those after-hour scanners will use data from the previous close to provide a static snapshot as of the market's closing price. A scan displaying snapshot data will be identified with gray text in your scanner display, so keep that in mind. Okay, now I also mentioned that scanners are available in our fundamental, our TWS fundamentals or company fundamentals. Let me go back into one of my, I'm going to pull up one of my stock scanners here. And let's go into high implied volatility over historical, for example. Now, once I've made a selection with any of these tickers, notice here I may want to right-click on Juniper, for example. By the way, you can double-click and see, go into your contract description or notice here, I've got it set up for my double-click menu, but I can also right-click and go into Fundamental Analytics to access company fundamentals directly from this screen. Now notice when I do go in and we chose Juniper, you'll see a general summary information. By the way, Thursday, we'll be going through the company fundamentals in a lot more detail. But what I did want to point out on this screen here is notice that with the dashboard drop-down or the title bar dashboard drop-down menu, there's a selection here for similar products. These products, notice, will be in the same industry or sector as the ticker symbol that you've selected. So notice when I did open up that company fundamentals, I now have that scanner criteria for the top gainers in the industry. There's a drop-down menu from that title bar that will show you those that are most active in telecom. And notice we'll pull that up, and instantly the scanners will refresh within this window. And notice that all of the ticker symbols here are all those that are included in the same industry. Now, by the way, you can get even more granular or customize these scans by clicking that that wrench head icon that's included just next to the input field. This is going to show you all of the different scanners that we do have available, as well as the criteria that's been set up. So notice if we do want to view those most active in the industry, you'll see these items are included, or those most active in the sector. Notice that when you make that selection, it lights up the buttons over on the right-hand side. So you could either rename the scanner or go in and edit the criteria. You'll see that, for example, here, notice that icon indicates I don't have access to all of the products or all of the exchanges that I've included in this scan. You could add filtering criteria. You could even go into the same sector. And once we do choose, and notice here, I'm going to go into communications. We could also choose the same industry, et cetera, as I showed you earlier on today. And the parameters. The various scans that are available will be listed over on the right-hand side. So you can view that information directly from within the market, the company fundamentals. Okay, so now with all of that, I do want to open it up for questions. So if you do have any questions for me, go ahead and put those into the question panel that's located in your control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Let me see here. Penna, well, Penna, I'm not going to say your whole name. I don't want to butcher it, but is asking, is there an IV rank filter available? Well, IV rank. We don't have those. Excuse me. Well, what I'm going to do here, since this is showing you, well, notice I am taking a look at those equities, but what I will do is let me go into our stock scanner, because I think what you're looking for here, notice I'm going to pull this up, and we'll simply go back and you'll see the two conditions, and this happens to be one of those implied volatility gainers. Now, if you're looking for something in particular, remember a right click will allow you to go in, insert a column before that category column, and notice all of the different categories that we do have available for market data fields will be listed over on the right-hand side. Let me see. Let's go in and insert. By the way, you do have to be very careful. Move over here, and then I'm going to go up to options. And notice that for options information, here are the different fields that we do have available. And these, and I don't believe IV rank is one of those. But you can also, remember, there is the ability to customize the layout. Notice here it brings up those same categories of information on the right-hand side, but in this case, not only can you go into the options, notice here, into the options, and wherever there are more available, you can expand and view any that may not be actively viewed on your screen. Or also notice there is a radial sort button at the very bottom of this window. If you are looking for that implied volatility ranking, notice here you can locate by keyword or alphabetically by keyword here, and I'm not seeing that implied volatility ranking. So apologies there, it doesn't look like it is available. If it is something that you'd like to see added, what I am going to do is close this window out and let me take you out to our website for just a moment. On our website, underneath the trading menu, there, it took a little bit of time. Let's go to the trading menu, and I do want to point out under services, there is a new features poll. If that's a feature that you'd like to see added into Trader Workstation, do make that request through the new feature poll. This is actually your direct line of communication to our development team. They do come out and periodically review the requests that are there, and if it is something that they can incorporate into the Trader Workstation, they will work on pulling that into TWS. You can always go back into the new features poll, look at other items that may have been requested, and follow through or drill down into the information to see if they are close to actually inputting that on the platform. Our development team would rather hear from clients than from me, so this is your best bet if that's something that you do want to get access to in the scanners, or if it may be possible. Let me see, the next question, is it possible to scan over time? Let's say 3 years looking back for stocks that whose volume has been growing year by year, revenue has been growing year by year. Well, Piotr, let's take a look, because if you are looking for those results, notice what I will do here is simply we'll start off with a blank market scanner. I'm going to open that up and take a look at the equities and then go into add the filters. Here is where you'll be able to review that information. Now, some of that may be, this does not go back, our scanners utilize real-time market criteria, but if it is available, you may be able to find items within this particular list here. And what I'm not seeing are those year-over-year criteria. Now, if you do, by the way, remember I was showing you our company fundamentals. Let's go back into the company fundamentals. I'm going to cancel it from here. But if you are looking for some of that information, what you can find when it does come up based on other criteria, notice how you could go in, you could look at our, say for example, our key financial ratios, which opens up, and these two are available on your contract description window. Now I have this set up in global configuration to automatically open up my uh, my contract details window, but you can always right click on a particular ticker symbol. Sorry about that, to access that information as well. Now notice what we do have here, and what I referenced earlier is you'll see TTM, it's for the trailing 12 months. MRY is for the most recent fiscal year, and MRQ is the most recent fiscal quarter. But you also can go in and you may want to take a look at the dividend calendar. So if you're looking for dividend information as well as year over year, notice this dividend information on the equities will be displayed, where you can see if that has regularly uh, been increasing in the amount of dividend. And notice it does give you 5 full years with a 12-month dividend yield as well as 1-year dividend growth. You can view upcoming dividends, what is expected as well on that separate tab. Now, also, let me see, you were looking for uh, those that have been growing year by year, and revenue has been growing. Well, there's additional information that's included here. Notice if we do go into the financial summary, for example, this is going to show you the, by the way, you'll see price in the background, and notice the earnings per share. It's actually graphed, and it's going to show you, by the way, this happens to be a 2-for-1 split. Any of these data points, when you hover over them, you'll see a tooltip that will actually open up and show you, based on the date that you're pointing to, what the stock price was, the earnings per share, etc. By the way, notice here, you can view this information. It's going to show you the previous 5 years, and then also with projections for 2017 and 2018. So hopefully you may be able to locate what it is that you're looking for through our company fundamentals. Now, for the most part, company fundamentals are now available through TWS at no additional charge. There is one item that is included here, and it's the Wall Street Horizons corporate event calendar. So if you are concerned about earnings, this is a nominal subscription you can obtain through account management that will also allow you to view any upcoming earnings announcements as well for the equities that are displayed. So do take a look through this particular window. You may want to view analyst ratings, details, or summary, or even their forecasts. You can actually even go into the statements. So you may want to take a look and see what is available in our company fundamentals, that once you do pull in stocks, and let me see, we did have a stock scanner. Oh, I'm on that stock scanner. Well, let me go into, here's one, and notice a right click will allow you to access, well, let me come up, I'm going to come to CHT, and notice here that, let me see, well, I should, what I'm going to try and do, I have something, I have a piece that's in this window. Let me see, I should be able to find this information via the right-click menu. I'm not finding it right now, but because I am in the market scanner. Let me actually go into a separate tab here, and I'm going to pick on AT&T, and where you can view the information, I'm going to expand this window. Notice here, let me see, and I have one other piece that on my desktop that's visible. Let me go into my AT&T, what I'm going to do is expand this, and let me see here. I should be able to find it under, I'll have to go back in and take a look, but it is something that's available, and it is your contract details that you're actually looking for. So I'm not able to find that here, but let me go into global configuration and show you where you can, in our global configuration settings, notice here in this window, if I do go into let me see. It's under our display, and it's ticker row settings here. It is the open contract details. This is a selection that I've made, so I can actually view that information once I click apply and OK by simply double clicking, and you'll see that opens up your contract information screen, gives you basic information about the contract that you're looking at, as well as your company fundamentals. By the way, each of these, if you do want to go in and take a look at financial summary, these are hyperlinked directly into the company fundamentals screen as well. So a quick way that you can navigate through this window. Okay, some more questions here. Is there a way I can track my total portfolio deltas so you can adjust my positions to end up delta neutral? Okay, well, Don, what you can do, and notice under the portfolio tab, now on this window here, I'm actually going to take you over to Mosaic because I think this may actually work a little better for you. Under the Mosaic, notice in the upper right-hand corner, I am going into the Portfolio tab. Here you can view your profile, and notice when you do go into your account profile, it's also going to show you, let me see, these are the different investments, and I believe there was, notice here you can take a look at your portfolio and different scenarios as well, according to the different Greeks. I can't advise you on keeping your account delta neutral, so do take a look or even look through the user guide on how to use those values that are included as well in your portfolio. Let me see on this window. I believe there was, okay, or you can contact our customer support team and they'll be able to help you as well. Okay, I have a column open for relative volume, but it doesn't fill up with data. This is very good information to know if a stock is trading more volume relative to what it normally trades. Just wondering why no data is showing up. Okay, Brad, well, not seeing that exactly. I'm not sure why that data isn't showing up, but for volume. And let me go into since we should be in classic TWS, I'm going to come back over into this window here. If you are looking for volume, and let me, haven't noticed it on any of my scans, but if volume, notice here, if we do go to add volume, I happen to be in my portfolio page, but notice that by right-clicking on any of the column headers, I could go in and customize that layout. What it is that you're looking for, and notice here, we'll go into volume and history. You'll see that we do have for example, a 13-week, 26-week, and 52-week high and low. But if what you're looking for, and let me get back to your question, is relative volume. I'm not sure where that relative volume actually did come from. Well, let's expand this window. Relative volume. Now, notice it is a comparison of today's volume with the previous day's trading. Indicator grows toward the right as trading volume increases, and the tip reaches the edge when today's volume is equal. On this case here, if you're not seeing when you do go into relative volume, let's go ahead. I'm going to add that. You'll see it's been added. and it looks like there are certain parameters here that may be missing. So I'm not familiar with relative volume, but what I am going to do is let's take a look. And by the way, notice there is a help menu. When you click on that help menu, you'll find online access to our user guide opens up. And what I'm going to put here is, notice there is a table of contents, there's an index, but then there's also a search parameter. So once I put in relative volume, notice what you'll see is that this window actually shows you um, different values that are included. For example, relative to the market, set volume alerts. It will be included on any of these pages. So do take a look through these pages. And if you're still not seeing that relative volume, you may want to get in touch with our customer support team and make a report on that. They may have some additional information, or it could also be based on the criteria that you've got already displayed in TWS. So where we did add, let me see if I did add that relative volume. Looks like I didn't get it added, but I'll go back in, choose Customize Layout. Let me go into my volume. I meant to add this. And by the way, notice here, if we do, where's that relative volume, I'll simply add that. It will be displayed. We'll click Apply and OK. And now notice if you right-click on that column, you may be able to customize the layout or configure that particular column, but that's really just a matter of what's included in here. There may be certain restrictions. There might be some other information that you need to set up, so do contact our customer support team. Okay, how can I set order presets for U.S. stocks? Well, Arjun, hello. A little off topic right now, but since we do have a couple minutes, what I will do is show you how to go into your order presets. Now, notice that at the top of our window is our global configuration menu. You can always access that from the file menu as well. Well, I say always access. Actually, in Classic TWS, it's included on the Edit menu. But going into Global Configuration, you'll see all of the fields listed over on the left-hand side of the screen. Now I'm going to go back to Configuration and remove everything else. Notice that working from the left panel here, there are order presets that are available. Now our presets, I'm going to go into order presets and notice that this selection here is overall what you see on the platform. For example, when placing an order, time and force is set as a day order, and it's also set to a limit order size or to a limit order type. You can always come in and modify that, but what we're looking at, this upper level or the top level of our presets, applies throughout the platform. When you are creating presets, you may or I would suggest going in and selecting the instrument that you're going to trade. Notice here I've chosen stocks, and now you'll see the presets will be applied for stocks. Time and force is set to a day order. You can make that a good till cancel order. You'll also see the default quantity each time you enter a trade. Now notice for equities it's 100 shares. For options and futures, it'll be a single contract each, and currencies are displayed as a approximate 25,000 US dollar equivalent. Now notice you can choose shares or amounts or an all available size, so you can also include that within the screen. Now, say for example, you might want to trade 500 shares at a time. So when you make your selection, keep moving down to the bottom of the screen. Order types that are available, and this will be the default order type each time you create an equity trade when you're looking at presets for stocks. So you can choose other order types as that basic. Notice the different order types that are available. Those that are highlighted or grayed with a yellow background are not actively used on your version of TWS, but simply activating any of these makes them available to you. So while it's not displayed on the active menu choices, they're all still available here. Now, also, what you can do is set a particular an offset. Now, notice here the clickable fields when creating a limit order is set to the ask price. You can create an offset, and so, for example, instead of creating an order at the current ask price, we'll put this in, and what I'm going to do here is put a minus 0.02. So I'm going to put that at 2 cents below the current ask price, and an order will be created. Now, as I continue to move down, there's additional selections that are available. And by the way, precautionary settings. If you've ever put in a trade for over 5 times the default amount, and notice here it's set at 500 shares. So if you've ever gotten that message, here is where you can make those choices. But because I did, notice here, I changed the quantity to 500. What that default or that precautionary measure will now based on 5 times that default amount. So you'll see I'll get that message if I do try and trade 2,500 shares rather than 500. So it's 5 times that default amount. Now, once you do click apply, keep in mind what you have selected here will become the default for all equity trades. So I'll go ahead and click apply and then OK. Now, before I do click OK, you'll see if you do have other presets already specified, this window opens to ask if you want to use these same presets for all of your other presets that you've created. I'm going to choose ignore and then simply click apply and OK. So now, and let me go back over to my INDU page and notice that whether I click on Cisco or Hewlett Packard, you'll see those same order presets are now used. Click on the ask price and notice how that offer or the ask price is now 2 cents less than what the current market ask is. It's also set to 500 shares and good till canceled, so you can make those selections. What I'm going to do right now, though, is I'm going to cancel all orders on the platform. And we'll go back into the presets because our June, there's even some increased capabilities there. If you do go into your settings window, and we'll go into order and presets, notice here that you can create multiple different preset values. I'm going to click on that plus, and you'll see here that I could set up a percent bracket or a 2 cent offset, which is what I just created. Now, if you do name that offset, by the way, if you don't name the offset, or the preset, I should say, it will default to what you have chosen for all instrument types. Now, if you are, notice here, I could choose a percent bracket and then make that the active selection. Now, once I've chosen the percent bracket, notice here, it's similar to the other preset, but in this case, I have 1,000 shares. We're going to keep it a limit order and keep that 2 cent offset. But notice that what I will be doing is underneath, let me see here, I should have, I should also have a, let me go back. I'm going to go back to my it's all possible fields. That's what I wasn't seeing. And this is what I'm looking for here. So if you weren't seeing that, notice that you can open it up. And what I'm looking for is the profit-taking limit order and a protective stop. Those are the two opposite side orders that are available when you create a bracket order. And you can even set those amounts as well in your presets. Notice that the order type is set at none, and here you have that dollar above and dollar below. But if you do want to modify that, what I'm going to do is come in and instead of for my overall, notice this is what's displayed for all equities. But I do have, I'm going to go into this preset that I've already created, and now that I do have access to that field, you'll see that I set my profit-taking limit order at 10% above, but that's grayed out. In order to choose that preset, you will have to go in, change the order type to a limit order, and now notice that you can set that instead of an absolute amount, you could actually even change that by percentage. So what I've just done was create a bracket order that will be 10% above where my parent limit price is, and then also coming down to the attached stop order. Notice here I can go into that stop, and I've already selected that as minus 5%. So when I do click apply, this then will become my percent bracket trade. Now also notice here that leaving these order types open, I'm going to quickly go in and we'll click apply, and then I'm going to click OK. And now notice when I go in and create that order for Cisco, in this, by simply clicking on the ask price, notice it's created that bracket order. My parent order is set 2 cents below where the limit price was, and then notice that my profit-taking limit order is set 10% above that price, and my protective stop is set at 5% below. Now you can make these adjustments for all of your equities. So notice here, by leaving both the target limit and protective stop enabled in presets, it automatically creates a bracket order each time you create a trade. But by right-clicking, I'm going to go in and configure those order presets. We'll go back into equities here. Well, let's go back to that bracket. And notice this time if I choose none, turning these off means that it won't automatically create an order. I'll click apply and then OK. But, well, let me make sure that none is selected. Once I click apply and OK, I'm going to right-click, discard this trade, and now notice when I do go to left-click, it is just the parent order that's been activated. But a right-click will allow me to then attach a bracket order, and you'll see, once again, 10% above and 5% below. So a quick look at order presets. By the way, let me go over. I'm going to simply discard that trade. And what I will do is go into a, notice here for, I do have future contracts as well. I'm going to right-click on that contract, or let's go in back into order presets, into my settings. And from here, going into presets, if I want to set those values, I'm going to have to expand, and I can set future values. Now, the reason I'm showing you futures is that notice, well, first of all, it's a day order, a single contract. But when you're setting both the primary as well as any profit-taking limit or any profit takers or attached stops can also be set according to ticks. Now, future contracts that trade, if you are going to be setting presets for futures, they trade with various tick increments, and so rather than using an amount or a percentage, you can set those up by tick amounts. So notice here, I do have it set based on certain ticks. So let's go back in and I'll create an order. Notice this time I'll pull up the E-mini S&P, and you'll see that first of all it's set at 1 tick below where the current market is. But if I do go in and choose to attach a bracket for those orders, you'll see that with the E-mini S&P that trades in 25-cent tick amounts, I now have $2.50 below or above for my profit-taking limit order, or 10 ticks, and this would be $1.25 below where my parent limit price is for those 5 ticks below, or that protective stop. So a quick look there at the order presets. A little bit longer than just a quick look, but I hope that's helpful, Arjun. Is there any way to arm the bid and ask columns so that I don't have to click on transmit? Well, within the order rows, okay, if you are going to be trading very fast and aggressively, your armed selection, I don't believe armed is available. Notice here, if we do go, I'm going to simply right click and let me see. I don't believe you can arm it automatically, but you can arm the application in certain other areas. I'm not seeing, let's see, notice I'm going to put armed into the selector over here, and this should show me all of the different places. And let me go into presets. For stocks, there may be an armed selection in here. You will have to take a look. Let me see. And it could be under all possible fields. So do take a look within this window to see if there is an armed selection. I'm not seeing it offhand, but where you can find that is in some of our more advanced tools. Notice, for example, I may bring up Book Trader. I do have a futures contract, and here is where you can view that arm selection. Notice that if you do want to arm the bid and offer fields within the Book Trader, you will have to agree to an activation contract. And then notice as soon as it does populate in this screen, I don't have, let's go ahead, I'm going to put the E-mini S&P in again. By the way, when you're working with any of our optimized features, you do have to utilize the individual contract and not the continuous futures contract. So let's go out to the September contract here, and what what I can do is, because it has been armed, if I do come in and simply select a particular price level, that my order will automatically, let's go in and I'm going to select 24.30, and notice here it's going to, well, let me go ahead and expand, and you'll see that, well, at this point, I do not have it. Let me also pull over here. It's only one particular size, but also I will need to go in to the order confirmation. I've got mine activated here, so I'd have to turn that off. But once you do make that selection and arm it, if I do turn off this contract, let me go ahead and I'm going to, well, let's simply cancel it. Well, I'll go ahead and transmit this order. Notice how it has been transmitted, but what I'm going to do is send a cancellation request. Now that I've turned off my order confirmation, let's go in and I'm simply going to click here, and notice that not only did I create the order, I created it and transmitted it directly from this window. So you can find the arm selection whether you're trading in the chart trader feature or any of our other optimized tools that we're available. It will be showing up. So I'm going to, by the way, notice here, I don't want to close this window, but I am going to send a cancellation request. Okay, Arjun. Okay, well, thank you all. I'm not seeing any additional questions come in. So that is going to conclude our session right now. Let me, I'm going to, let's not display this message again, and I want to go ahead and close that window. What I will do, though, at this point is go in and cancel all my open orders. By the way, I do want you to see or do want to make reference to I have been using my paper account and do want to or strongly suggest that if you're trying out any of these features to work within your paper account. We do have paper accounts available to clients with an approved and funded account, and there's no additional charge because we do mirror your same market data permissions. If you don't already have paper account, notice that from the Mosaic account drop down, this will actually take you right into account management where you can request one today. It does take overnight to set it up and make it available for trading, but once you do have a paper account, you can do everything that I was showing you here today and even create or transmit orders directly from the paper account. The beauty is that while you are seeing real-time data, those orders will not be presented for clearing. So you can trade in paper as if you were trading live. So Arjun, if you are running any of those order presets, do practice in your paper account, especially before you activate that armed selection. Okay, well, with that, everyone, thanks for participating with me here today. I do want to remind you that from the Interactive Broker website, if you go in and type in webinars in the search field, notice that this will take you to a page where you can view previously recorded webinars or join any of our upcoming webinars. Now, taking a look at those previous recordings, notice here how it is organized on the page, and those that I do on TWS, for example, our Market Scanner Mosaic, if you want to review that as well, there is a listing here, and the webinar notes are available. So here you'll be able to see the webinar notes. Notice that I do include more on the Mosaic scanners as well as on the advanced order mode and the ability to access under similar products. So with that, we are going to conclude our event today. I want to thank all of you for participating with me here and hope I have opened up your eyes to just some of the capabilities available throughout TWS. So we have been recording today's session, and each of you will get a direct link to these webinar notes as well as the playback later on this afternoon. So with that, we will conclude our session. Have a great day, everyone. I appreciate the time you've spent with me, and everybody do remember to trade smart. Thanks all. Have a good one.